Let me switch to airplane mode. Because I don't want to gobble up the bandwidth. That's the problem at this time of day, so I switched to airplane mode.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. So, you're in San Jose, California, Michael?
Correct, yes. It's Pacific time. It's about 11 o'clock here.
It's about 11 o'clock there. Well, yeah, I have some of my team members that are in California and colleagues, so I get it. I kind of adjust or course correct where I need to. And so, well, I hope your weather is wonderful there. It's raining here. It's been beautiful, kind of in the low 70s, but in North Carolina, but I'm sure it's not California weather.
No, it's not. Not close. Because
Have
your
you
weather
been to
probably
North
has
Carolina
humidity,
before?
so.
Have you visited this area before?
North Carolina? No.
Okay.
I'm from the
I'm
East
sure
Coast
you will
originally,
love it. But
so,
listen,
I'm sorry. I'm from the East Coast originally, so I've dealt with the heat and humidity. So,
yeah, you don't miss it, is what you're saying.
heat and humidity? No.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on. I definitely wanted to be able to connect with you. I saw that, obviously you applied to our building and facility structural design group leader role in Jackson. And so I'm super curious, just given your background. And, what my goal to do here today is just to really get to know a little bit more about you, kind of why Dewberry, and go from there as far as the role. Certainly, you have a lot in your background, and so just a little bit intrigued. Maybe you can kind of start off by walking me through all things Michael and kind of what you've been doing. And I'll be taking notes, by the way, so just want to make sure that you are okay with me looking down from time to time. I don't want you to take that personal.
Yep. Okay. So over past 25 years, I've been designing and reviewing all sorts of structures. About 2/3 of it, 3/4 of it's been in designing all sorts of buildings, all types of structures, and a quarter of it's been reviewing it, where I get requested to do it. And that wasn't
Yeah.
a choice. That was because, uh, you know, economic factors years ago. I don't know if you remember the Great Recession back in '09. A lot of firms in California, a lot of building wasn't happening, so there were nobody was building anything because there was no use for me to design something, building or a bridge if there's no money for it. So I went did some review of that. So and then I came back to California and I've been on my own ever since. And recently, a client of mine passed away. He died. So right now I'm in between work. Yeah, he died during the pandemic. During the pandemic time, he had cancer, and
Oh no.
yeah, yes. So
I'm
and
so sorry about that.
a lot of construction stopped in California because in California where I am, this was in San Francisco. There was a law that said all the apartment buildings had to be retrofitted so they wouldn't collapse in earthquakes. He couldn't do the construction because by law in California, you have to put the tenants up in hotels while you're building these retrofits, and it's the bottom floor. And what happened was during the pandemic, all the hotels were shut down. The state of California put an order. All businesses are shut down. Well, he couldn't do any retrofits, and then he passed away during the pandemic.
No.
It was a rough time, and I've been, doing, a lot of building reviews, building designs, all sorts of things, all the materials. So I'm licensed as a structural engineer in 4 states, California and Washington being one of them, and I've got, worked in all sorts of types and all sorts of marketplaces, federal, state, state buildings, government buildings, your public schools, hospitals, high-rise buildings, low-rise buildings, federal buildings. My experience runs the whole gamut. So it's, all the materials, all the gravity systems, all the lateral systems, your concrete,
Yeah.
wood, steel, and your masonry. And I put on
Yeah.
on my resume, there's a link. So if you want to see the pictures of the projects, you can. That's really
Yeah.
important because I want putting it on a resume doesn't work, but if you show them people the project, they're more astounded to it. Some of my work has been torn down actually, so you can't find it anymore. And that was because uh, one of the sectors I was in, they were designing tanks for the paper industry. Then the paper industry in 2000 collapsed, so a lot of paper mills were shut down. You know,
Yeah.
because in the old days it was you would have eight sets of tanks to make the paper. You can do the same amount with one line. So a lot of the there wasn't a need for my services anymore in that industry. So that's what got me into coming out to California and designing buildings. So
Well, and it's listening to you talk because I've been in this recruiting industry for a long time. I've worked across a variety of industries like Cisco and CBS and Facebook, and now in the engineering and architecture space for Dewberry. So I've kind of, you talk about the Great Recession, and I've seen and certainly experienced a lot of that from a recruiting perspective. I was talking to somebody the other day. Some of these younger engineers and architects coming out of school really don't remember what it's like to have gone through that, and to have gone hungry and searching for work, and they just don't know that and don't understand that. And
no.
so I can appreciate your perspective, although talking about going through these little peaks and valleys.
Yes, and honestly, I was thinking about giving up on it, because of the peaks and valleys. Some of my friends that are in engineering, some of them I know went into real estate. Some of them got their MBAs. When I got out of college back in the mid '90s, the recession, there was still a recession going on, and there weren't many jobs available. So a lot of people were going back to schools. College. I went and got a master's degree at the time when we had one of the recessions because there was no jobs available. I'm not going to sit around and mope and wait for a year.
Yeah.
I decided,
so
well...
Did you...
I'm sorry.
I
yeah, that's why I went and got my master's.
A little bit of a delay.
That's why I went and got my master's degree. So, I decided, well, I would rather be doing something than sitting at home. So I might as well get the master's degree taken care of now, because there's nothing else I could do, really. I'm not in control, and plus it counts as a year. And look, it's a black lab.
Yeah, I hear you. I do hear you on that. So you're in California, though, and this role's in Jackson, and we, our Raleigh group is we're based out of Fairfax. Dewberry is. It's obviously family owned. You may have done some research on the company, I'm sure. But our Raleigh facility, the group that I support, we call it MAPS, Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing, and Structural. It's kind of all under this umbrella for Dewberry. Our Raleigh office is probably the second largest office, where we have a good deal of our engineers here and our structural team. And so the role you applied for, we have certain design centers that are in Birmingham and Jackson and Orlando and across the United States. But I was just curious about why Jackson, kind of think, in terms of location and what you're targeting.
Honestly, it was available. So that's why I targeted that, and I have the experience, and I didn't know how long the opening was available for, so it's been,
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Relocation is what you're
I'm going to turn the camera off because you just froze.
saying. Okay.
Yeah, you
How
can't...
long have you been interviewing, or when did you...
I've been interviewing actually since April.
I'm going to turn my camera off, too, to see...
Yeah, I turned off my stuff, too, so I've turned off the kill switch on the printer because that gobbles up internet bandwidth, and I've turned off the cell phone. Yeah, that's what the internet providers tell you to do. So, here at 11 o'clock, everybody's busy working, so, that's probably why. I'm in the area where Target is, so a lot of shoppers use their internet access to find stuff in the store.
Yeah.
To believe it.
Well,
So back to the... I want to go back... Okay, I'll talk here. I'd like to go back to why I'm looking... For me, it's where the work is. Personally, I'd like to do remote as much as I can, but, if I've got to go, I got to go. But I'm not going to... I want it to be, something that's permanent. I don't want this to be, 6 months, 9 months, just for one project. So I want to be certain on that point, because I've been burned in the past where, people have told me their jobs are long-term, and we find out later it's not. They don't have the work. And usually, when I get hired, by the time I get involved in some of these projects, one recently I was involved with, the client was upset with him, and the client dumped him.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. It's kind of, I understand kind of that whole search. What I will say about Dewberry, and that in looking at anybody that's relocating, certainly, for us, we're equally invested in finding somebody that wants to be with us long term. Our company has been around, my goodness, since 1956. We're family owned and operated even today. We've been around for 68 plus years, and you have a lot of private equity. What you're seeing in this industry right now is a lot of private equity companies that are buying out. I get that question a lot, and Barry Dewberry. So Sidney Dewberry started our company, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But his son Barry Dewberry and his son, Barry is still very heavily integrated in the operation of the company, as extended as even not just day-to-day operations, but the succession planning to make sure that they carry on that legacy, and everything they do, even acquisitions, they're pacing themselves to make sure that they're financially strong. They have no intention of moving away from being a family-owned company. So every move, every acquisition, every no layoff, they've never laid off. Everything has been very intentional with our growth, and we have grown from a very small company into a company of, I want to say, and I keep asking for a most accurate headcount, because on our website I think it's at 2,000 or somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 plus. We're actually more in like 2,500 plus and growing.
Yep.
Our website says 55 offices, and we're really closer to 60 plus offices now across the United States. So
yep.
Raleigh, I would say, I mentioned to you that the headquarters in Fairfax is the largest office, but only because it maintains like our human resources and our major marketing, and but if not for that, it would probably be Raleigh. Our Raleigh office right now, we're somewhere around 220, 230, and then the next team that I'm supporting, we're about 120 out of that number. So I guess I say all of that to say that stability is just as important to us, and bringing on and growing our team with people that are invested in you can never say forever, but we're looking for people that are wanting to invest in our company.
Yep.
Yeah, and when so it's funny, just to tell you, Michael, I came over from Facebook at the end of October. I was part of the remote recruiting team. I led a group hiring software engineers, and our team was, when everything was kind of going south for Facebook, and the metaverse and moving products around, Zuckerberg brought everybody back in-house and eliminated all of remote. So our team was probably impacted about 90%, only because, he was trying to make the shareholders happy. And, I'm in Raleigh, and there is no Meta in Raleigh, and so, or Facebook in Raleigh. So I understand what it's like to kind of be caught up in that.
Yeah, the other thing too is, and I'm reading articles recently. Yeah, I just read an article recently that some people are, here in California where I am, there's lawsuits. There was a talk about it the other day, and there's a lawyer on YouTube, and he, I checked into this, because I asked for data, and he says 1 out of every 2 lawsuits in California is ADA compliance, because what's happening is some people have to work from home for, ADA reasons, so it's cheaper for the employers, and when they're doing these back to office mandates, some people can't go to the office, because it's, they have a disability, they can't, diabetic, stuff like that, they have to have somebody near, or they have a family. So now they're being sued, and Meta's not the only one. Recently, Dell's doing that, and Dell's getting hammered over it. And, pleasing stockholders, in my opinion, doesn't work. If you look what's going on with Boeing, look how that company's going. And John Oliver's been talking about that on his show, where he talks about, and I don't like, the problem with private equity is it's just to make profit. It's not servicing the customers.
No,
that's where I'm from.
And so when I went on search, I guess I said all of that to address what you were saying. When I went on search, I wanted stability. I wanted something local to me in Raleigh. I wanted something that had been growing and building, and just trying to find a great team that I can get behind. As a recruiter, I have to believe in the team that I'm supporting. I have to be able to sell that and promote that. And so, when I met this team, I just, that was it for me. I mean, it's a good group of people. My EVP, Shepard Hockaday, who leads MAP, said, I mean, again, like for the last 4 years, the work we do within MAPS and the revenue that we drive it counts for about 29% of our company revenue. That's significant. And he said to me, Jill, this team is a blue-collar team with a white-collar background. So what he was saying is it's great. It's good people, right? It's people that roll up their sleeves. They work together. They grow together. It's important. Everybody I interview I feel like that their background and their personality will be part of our ongoing culture, right? Like I care about who we bring on board, and we have everything from people that are interns and early in career to people that are tenured and have been in this industry for years, and they value that experience, that seniority. And again, for me, somebody who's been in the business for a while, that was really, really nice to see that they appreciate and value and actually seek out that more senior talent, because they have to mentor and lead and grow the next generation.
Well, not only that, when you're,
So, anyway, it's
yeah,
a good group. We've been around for a long time. We have so many service lines that we support that show that we are making impact in so many areas, not just structural, but architecture, mechanical, environmental, water, transportation, resilience. I mean, you name it, we do it all.
yep.
And we're a government contractor as well. So when I posted this particular role, for this specific role in general, though, and that's what I wanted to find out a little bit more from you. We have to have someone who has had experience leading and mentoring teams. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about that, and then of course share some information on our structural team to give you a little bit more background on what type of structural team we are. But tell me, I mean, because you've mostly done freelance, Michael, when have you been, or when was the last time that you've kind of led or mentored teams?
Well, I did that recently. Some of the contracts, it depends who it is. For example, I get hired if they can't find a person to do the work. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. There was a firm that was designing public schools, and high earthquake area in the Seattle area. Give that as an example. This was done recently, but basically I had to train the younger engineers because the senior engineer that they had quit. She took a job with a municipality, so I ended up helping drawing all the details for the engineer, with working with the engineers, drawing details, getting calculations ready, doing the drafting the details, laying out the lateral and the gravity systems. Some of them are bridges, some of them are buildings. I get involved in all sorts of things. So during that time, and it was a 6 to 8 month time, I designed 6 sets of complexes, which is a lot, especially in a high seismic area, like in this case it was the Seattle area, so it's very high seismic. So I basically ran the whole job, and then they finally client decided to go out of business, out of structural. It was a problem for a long time coming. What was happening was they were losing money on structural, and what was on the structural engineering aspect. What was happening with that company is they were it wasn't their cup of tea. And then after the work died down, the head of the division retired, and they don't do structural engineering anymore.
Okay, that's good. I'm taking notes feverishly while you're walking through this. Thank you.
Yep.
This is helpful to have you. I think probably that's part of what I will maybe, if you have that, you talk about the projects you've attached, is maybe have you walk through or provide me with some supporting information on specific projects, the size and makeup of the teams that you've led when you were doing these freelance projects. I think that'll be helpful. I want to be able to represent it in your words, so I may have you put that together for me.
Okay.
And if you're okay with that, if you're comfortable with that, to kind of give you a little background on the type of structural team that we have. I would say our structural engineers and the projects that we work on wear a lot of hats, right? We're true generalists. We don't just really fixate on one project for a year in our role. So for that kind of makes it exciting to a lot of structural engineers that come in, because we have a fully staffed and kind of mature group that's support offices. Again, we've got offices in Raleigh and New York and Peoria, specifically for MEPs that focus on structural engineering, and we kind of have a group that kind of leans into projects for maps. In this case, civil, I would say geotechnical and environmental engineer across facilities. I would say that our facilities and building structural group has a very resume, right? So we do a lot of like commercial and institutional buildings. We do some new construction. We do renovation and rehabilitation. We have some waterfront structures that we support, some transit and
Mm-hmm.
rail facilities, water and wastewater treatment plants, and energy projects. The majority of our client base is public sector, but a more diverse, I would say, public and private balance is really desirable. So that's what they're looking to grow. This group's delivered a lot of projects using both what we call, and you're familiar with, design, bid, build, and design, build, procurement methodologies. I would say you're stepping into, technical tools and technical systems are in place, right? We're including
Mm-hmm.
state-of-the-art analysis software. We've got quality control procedures and production platforms, including design standards and project delivery and BIM. I hope that kind of gives you a well-rounded overview of who we are. Um, with the design lead, we have a couple of roles that we're trying to form. We've got a group that we're trying to start in Fairfax, Virginia to support that group, kind of a priority role. And then we've kind of broadened that to Jackson, trying to think about places where that type of leadership role can live and breathe as we continue to grow the team with more junior and mid-level support structural engineers. I know you're probably taking notes. I'm trying to give you a great visual, and I hope I'm
Yeah,
helping
I
you.
understand it. Yeah,
We do,
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
So this, because as a structural engineer, you either know what you like to do or what you don't like to do. I would say we do a lot of owner direct work. So that means you get to be in the prime role for our team as a structural engineer, running the job for the owner, right? So no
Mm-hmm.
architect to kind of push information around or through, which a lot of people love. No chasing accounts receivable. And you develop really deep personal relationships with our clients. We have both project managers and client managers in our roles, which means one is focused on a job and the other on the client's overall well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, I would say we know what other entities at the owner are doing before they even know themselves, which is a pretty powerful position to be in terms of connecting the dots for them. And it can be a lot of fun too, right? Because there's opportunity and responsibility instead of being second in command. Um, I do like to be honest with candidates and say that, hey, look, we do some, but not a lot of really cool buildings, as most of those, do come through architects and tend to spread them around designers, right? So I never want to mislead someone and say, hey, we do a lot of new, vertical construction, because we don't. And so if that's something that people are kind of inspired by and want to focus on, I say, look, well, that's not what we do. And that might not be the right role for you. We do a significant amount of wastewater treatment. We do a significant amount of thermal utilities, forensics failures, vertical buildings. So a good mix. But if you want to do that flashy building stuff, then it's probably a smaller firm that you want to chase for that.
Yeah, for me, I don't care what it is as long as it's there. The work is there, and that's the important thing. Because you learn from each type, and you use it. So that's
Yeah.
important to me.
Okay. Well,
And
that
the transit structures are a big thing too. That's important because there's a lot of money going around for that these days. So that's how I've moved from job to job to job. It's you can't just choose the ones you want. Sometimes you got to choose where the work is. You know, I'll give you an example. In the
exactly.
Great Recession, you can't design house renovations when there's no work and nobody's loaning money out. That can't happen. Because I
Yeah.
remember years ago they had home builders trying to bid school contracts. I'll use that as an example.
That's true. No, that's absolutely true, and I think that's a good perspective to share there. Again, I hope I gave you a good scope of what we do, and I think your resume pretty much spells out kind of what those commonalities are. I would probably want to dive a little bit deeper, and again, around you sharing some of within this freelance work that you've done from 2012 to present,
Yep.
kind of what that looked like in terms of stepping in and supporting and or leading a team. For frame of reference, that's not to say there might not be a role available, but I just want to be able to give them that frame of reference and say, is there a fit here within the kind of work we do that matches up with what you do, and then kind of round that out with any kind of leadership or experience that you've had. I think that's going to be important for me to share. And I guess on the flip side of that, given that this would be a relocation, it sounds like are you open to other areas potentially to reside in, say, Raleigh or New York, or tell me, I guess I want to know what you're open to and not open to.
Okay. Preferably, I'd like to stay in California. I know you have an office in Sacramento. Yeah. And I don't know if you have one in the Bay Area or not. I haven't looked, so, I know Sacramento has one because I applied for it. That's how I know about it.
Okay. Do you have the right number for that particular role? That's not one that I support. I was just curious about that.
Here's what happened. I applied for a bridge engineer, and I was told by you guys that I'm going to read the email back here because I keep all the emails. Because I didn't know what was going on because I've applied for so many of the jobs, when I applied for the bridge engineer one, I was told basically, that they, were proceeding with other candidates with bridge industry experience. Well, I've got it, because I've designed buildings and bridges, and it's on the resume has a link where you can actually click on it and see them. It takes you to a website and it shows you what they are. Then you can decide, if that's okay or not. I'm not gonna, it's already out there so people can see it.
I think often, sometimes too, Michael, to be fair, like, if that's a response, it could be that they do have or had other candidates that's in process that were further along. I think that sometimes happens. I don't know. I can't speak for the person supporting that role or where they were at in that process, but I don't think it's that they didn't see that background. I think it might just be that they may have had other candidates that they were closely working with.
I would help if they. Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting. It would help if they had post when the job was posted. That would help. So if it's been like 3-4 months, because we don't know I don't know if the jobs are real or fake. There's a phenomenon now going with fake jobs where people are getting, they're applying for the jobs and then nothing, and then they're going on. These companies are going on TV and complain and radio, print and complaining we can't find people. Well, a lot of it is you apply for the jobs and never hear from them.
Yeah. No, I hear that, and I don't. So it's tough. I mean, this industry is tough right now. I try to be a different kind of recruiter, but you do get inundated with people reaching out, and so that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today, because at the end of the day, the feedback's either going to be, this is a good fit for what we're looking for. I always want to be honest to say that leadership and direct leadership, recent kind of relevant hands-on experience and industry-specific experience for us, because we are MEPs, it's going to be super important for this group. So I just need to dig a little bit more, around sharing those projects and getting some of that specific information from you, and feel like if this is not a fit, maybe something else is. And, you talk about location. Our specific team is not looking to hire someone in California because that's not where MEPS
obviously
does our work.
Yeah, and obviously, it's good to, if I'm going to be, in your office, it would be good to be relocated, because I've had so many of these opportunities where, I relocated and then it's 6-8 months, we don't have the work. And that does nobody any good. Because now what happens is I have a bad taste in my mouth of the company. And also I'm out a lot of money because I relocated, spent money.
Well, it's an investment for us as well, and certainly if we're not going to relocate someone if we don't feel like there is the work there to support. We don't have a role open if that's the case, but also, that someone can 100% support the work that we have. And that's why fit is super important. You talk about California being your preference, but you said you are open to relocation. Is Raleigh an option for you? Is Fairfax an option for you?
Yeah.
Just okay.
And obviously I want to do my research before I do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to relocate, to an area and then find out, like, I'll give you an example, like some certain areas, like, housing's hard to get.
Yeah. No,
I've seen that happen.
Completely. Let me ask you, let's kind of get to this next phase. Obviously, you're in California, and for us, the conversations become a little bit more tight when we really get a fix on recent relevant experience, and we kind of equate that, equity among the team, experience level. But you must have an expectation, because I know California is a lot more expensive. What are your compensation expectations within range of, say, for instance, if you did relocate to a different area?
I'd have to look up the salary data. That's really important, I know here in California with structural engineers, with my experience, a lot of them don't go below 160, especially with my structural engineer license, which is a really hard license to get,
What was that number again?
160s. 160K. I want to see the whole package. That to me is really important because I want, salary doesn't do much if your benefits cost a ton of money, So that's.
I think we've got a good benefit package, and that part does not concern me. But I think that's a starting point to try to understand that that's the numbers in California that you've been focused on, and kind of, we're very transparent. So once we get a feel for experience, we'll be like, okay, Michael, this is what we're thinking, and this is where we stand, and here are our benefits. So I'm not as concerned. I think it helps give me a ground point for discussion. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yep, and the other thing too is, the other question I have is how soon are you looking to fill this position? Because I've had so many recruiters call, and a lot of times they say they're going to be expanding to Northern California, and then it never happens. I've had lots of those calls, over the past 7-8 years where... Yeah, let me finish.
We're not focused on California. The role is open, and our timeline to hire would be as soon as we identify someone that's a perfect fit for what we're looking for, and we're able to get them through the interview process. I mean, we move quickly as long as it's a fit for what we need. So the first hurdle we've got to get over is just to determine if this is a fit. And so I think, assuming, you can do your due diligence on Dewberry, I need to go back to my hiring leader with some of the specific information around the conversation we've had. And again, that leadership and mentorship experience is super important for this position and your ability to relocate. So then if you can provide me with some of those concrete, examples, that'll help kind of build that up. And I'm going to share that with the hiring leader, and he'll come back with a yes or no. And again, I'll try to be very transparent, so it'll be helpful to have that information from you.
Okay, may I say something first? Can you go on? Onto my resume, I posted a link with the project on it. Can you go to that website?
Yeah.
And that you want to see first, because you don't want to hire somebody that, for example, has designed, single-family homes and then hire them for a big job. That's not going to work. So that's what I want you to do first before you, ask the questions. Ask me the questions,
Okay. And project example, so they're on that website that will talk me through your leadership and mentorship experience.
Yeah, I've actually been the lead engineer for a lot of the projects in California. They have to be, especially some of the schools and hospitals I've designed, they have to be signed and sealed by me because it's a very hard license to get. Only... To give you an idea, 3 out of every 4 people that take this exam fail it.
Yeah.
It's that tough. So...
Well, hats off to you. That's amazing. Okay, well, let me dig into that a little bit more so that I can buffer up the pre-screen information and get that to my hiring leader.
Yep.
And I would say give me this week to get that information in front of him, and he'll give me either a yes or no. We'd like to move forward, and I'm going to circle back to you either way, because I definitely want to do that. for me, the bigger piece is getting that information in front of them and then kind of chasing a response. And I try to stay on top of that.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're out there interviewing.
I'm interviewing a lot. Give me an average every day I'm getting interviewed. So, and it's, so you got to come and, if you want to hire me, you got to be on top of it. I'm not going to sit here and wait, and, because I've heard so many of these companies calling me up, we're going to call you in 3 weeks and then, quote, nothing. Crickets. To me that says.
I appreciate that for sure. And
yeah.
Again, I thank you for taking the time out of your day to have this conversation with me. And I feel like we've made a good connection here, and I honestly honor the experience and background you bring to the table, and I want you to know that. So
yep.
I do not take these conversations lightly.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to let you go. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, not at this point. The next thing for me is just to kind of move forward and talk to my hiring leader and see what he wants to do and go from there. But I'm glad that we've connected, and let's see what happens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wishing you all the best, and hopefully we'll talk soon and understand what that next step looks like.
Yeah, bye, Jill Simpson.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Take care, Michael.
And that was Jill Simpson with Dewberry Engineers, the Raleigh office.